You're listening to the Plane Talking UK podcast, the UK-based podcast written by a passenger for anyone. And here are your hosts, Carla Stebbings, Matt Smith, and Neville Bounds.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, I've just altered the titles slightly, and Carlos was freaking out there for a moment.
Well, no, I just wanted to make sure that it said 214 there.
You're just checking up on me again, aren't you? Honestly.
Well, hello and welcome to episode number 214 of the Plane Talking UK podcast. It's Carl Stebbings here, and joining me in the Barn studio this week, as always, is my co-host Matt Smith.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, good night, everyone. I don't know what to welcome.
Hello.
Yeah, 214, yes.
I
Very
know,
good.
I know. Every week it's another one on.
I know, and we started on time again.
And we started on time again. We're getting good at this starting on time
like
thing.
This.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So also joining us from his stately mansion, it's the Lord of the Manor himself, of everything British and Airways. It's Sir Neville Bounds.
Inside, because last week it went very cold and very dark, and I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, it's safe to say that last week, as the light faded, it got colder and colder. Well, we were warm.
We were fine.
Yes, it wasn't my finest hour, I have to say. So I have to apologise to everybody because I looked a bit weird outside there.
I know.
Anyway,
It was the greatest thing ever. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Red Dwarf, and so actually towards the end of that, it basically vaguely resembled Holly. There's so many people are now going, what on earth is Red Dwarf? Look it up on YouTube and look up Holly. You'll know. And then cast your mind back to last week's episode, and you'll know what was occurring.
Yeah. So this week on the show, we've managed to grab ourselves a first-time guest. His first time on the show, and
victim.
For those of you who can cast your minds back to many years ago, when the Super Guppy used to carry various Airbus items across the Europe. This is the guy who looks after and cares for the Super Guppy at Bruntingthorpe. So welcome onto the show, Neil Lanwarne.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening from Rugby.
Rugby, yeah.
It's not just me. There is a whole team of us, and we'll get onto that later on. I can't take the whole credit.
Well, we'll grill you later on in the show, Neil, about the Super Guppy. Obviously, we put the promo out on Facebook earlier yesterday when we put the with the pictures and stuff.
Organised for you, isn't it?
I know.
Doesn't matter with
you. I think it's safe to say that there'll be a few questions for you later on in the show, Neil. So we're going to say a big welcome then to everyone who's joined us in the live chat room this evening. All the usual suspects in there, all the family, I haven't
got the chat.
You haven't got the chat room up?
I haven't
That's
got the chat room.
terrible.
I should put that right.
So we've got Liz Piper, Richard Adams, Neville Bounds.
They could be saying all sorts of things
Lane
about me.
Street, Richard King, Tony S, Neil. Well, Neil's in the chat room. Well, our guest's in the chat room. That's always good. Jenny Parkinson's joined us from Rome.
Aww.
Hello, Jenny. We have also got, I'm just scrolling up here, we've got Andy Wilson. Hello to you, Andy Wilson, as well. We've got Eduardo Sanchez Coronado. Hello to you, and Eduardo is in Mexico. So hello in Mexico. Blimey, that's a few miles away for sure. And Lane Street. Have I missed anyone? Hopefully I've not missed anyone. But thanks everyone for joining us in the live chat room this evening, and for taking time out of your Friday evening. So the date is it is the 27th of April.
Do you know we haven't done that properly in a long time, have we?
I know, it's the 27th of April, and it's just coming up to 7:05 in the evening here in the UK. We've got loads of news stories to go through this week, interesting news stories, and also we've got Nev. What have we got coming up midway through the show? Something yet?
Oh yes, during the 200th show, I did lots of interviews with various people, none of which we've played out yet. So we thought, as we've got a bit of a slot in the show later on to do this with, thought I'd play out an interview that I did with Andy from the A320 podcast and Captain Al, and very entertaining it is as well.
Oh no, did you say Captain Al?
He said Captain Al.
Oh no.
Obviously this is the edited clean version.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
Friendly one.
I think we should always have Captain Al on tape, actually, in hindsight.
Has that interview been through the NevTech filters?
Yeah, it has been through the taste and decency filter.
Right,
and
excellent. All the smut has been cleaned
applied.
out.
Very fine.
Nothing left then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. The bad news is it's only about 15 seconds long. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So before we start the news, we're going to make a quick mention to a few of our listeners over in Australia, and a special mention to Matthew Buntingframe and Ray Davis, and they're off next weekend to the Wings over Illawarra air show. That's next Saturday and Sunday. And hopefully they're going to send us after the show some audio and visual content from the show. So looking forward to that. So anyone who's over in Australia who's listening to the show and is off to the Wings over Illawarra air show, please do send us in some pictures or some audio. Would be fantastic, along with Matthew Buntingframe and Ray Davis and stuff. So I hope you have a great weekend, guys. And we're going to look forward to that coming in on the show.
Indeed, absolutely.
So we're going to start the show then, as we do each week, with our rundown of the weekly news from around the world and the UK. So if you're ready, Matt?
Yeah, why not? We'll give it a go.
Yeah. And if you're ready, Nev?
Yes, same here.
And if you're ready, Neil?
We're ready.
Let's go. So, kicking off this week's first news story, this one is on the independent.co.uk. And quite an interesting story, actually, Matt. I found this is...
that remains to be seen.
Well, it's the headline is, an airline is going to pay two friends £2,885 each per month to move to Iceland and travel the world, accommodation included.
Aww.
So summer is...
I want to do that.
I know. Summer is around the corner, which means holiday planning for many people. And if you have some free time on your hands over the next few months, you could be in luck. Budget Icelandic airline WOW.
I beg your pardon?
WOW Air is seeking two friends who would like to travel the world together this summer while blogging and vlogging about their experiences and getting paid to do it. The low-cost carrier is launching the WOW Travel Guide competition on the 23rd of April, so it's this week, and it says it's looking for a fun pair of individuals who are able to think big. This can either be two content creators or one who wants to bring a friend along for the adventure. The successful applicants will move to Iceland from the 1st of June this year until the 15th of August, where they will receive a monthly salary and live in apartment in downtown Reykjavik. They will use the place as a base to travel to destinations served by WOW Air across Europe and North America, and will also explore Iceland. The winners will also be allowed to pick where they go. A representative for the airline told Business Insider, which could include places like Barcelona, Los Angeles, Stockholm and New York. Each traveller will receive a salary of around about €3,300 or £2,885 a month, which comes in addition to the apartment as well as transportation and other tours around Iceland. Travel and living expenses will also be covered by the airline while the pair are visiting other destinations. The successful applicants will be required to document their trips, capturing short videos and writing budget-friendly travel tips to create guides for the destinations they visit. Their content will include videos, GIFs and blog posts, which will be posted to a section on the WOW Air website called Travel Guide. To apply, candidates should head to the competition website and upload a 2-minute clip offering travel tips for their hometown. Oh, blimey, that'd be hard for us, Matt. The contest is open to candidates everywhere. The deadline for entries is the 14th of May, so you've got loads of time, after which a panel of judges will select the winners to be announced on social media on the 18th of May.
To be fair, we could do an
June.
Excellent tour of various charity shops that are available here in this town.
Do.
That is literally... charity shops and hairdressers are the only things available in Bungay.
But if you wanted a bank, then you're out of luck.
Yeah, and we're not allowed a bank.
What do you reckon of this, Nev? Is this?
I'm going for it. I'm the video production department
of PTUK. Absolutely,
a bit for this one. Absolutely, yes. Well, I think we should have a go, don't you, guys?
I mean, to win a competition and actually get paid to do something that you love, Nev, that would be pretty good, I think.
This is massive as far as I'm concerned. So yes, we're going to have a stab at it, see how we get on.
Oh,
absolutely.
Neil, you going to apply for this one?
I'm applying now.
Yeah, absolutely. Fill in the forms. Yeah, screw the show.
Oh, dear.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't mind a go at this. I mean, it'd be a great way of getting over my fear of flying.
An amazing destination as well. Really, Iceland and that.
Just a bit cold. That's the only bit that makes me nervous about.
Yeah, a bit chilly. But going to have to apply for that, I think. Yeah.
Oh, dear me. Your dinner that you got me is playing havoc.
It's the onions.
Is it?
Matt had some onions earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Could be maybe trouble ahead.
It's probably just as well that they haven't invented smell-o-vision here in the studio. It has to be said.
Oh dear.
It's no. It's just oniony. Calm down, honestly.
And with that,
Lane Street's got a great idea, by the way.
What's that?
Yeah. A honeymoon trip for Mrs. Nev.
Yeah, Nev.
Yes. I'm just trying to work out how that might go down.
You think she might say no? Oh, never mind.
So moving on to the next story, and this one, Matt, as always, is for you.
Is it? Right. It's a shame that I'm too busy reading the chat room.
Oh dear.
I'm sorry. It's one of those. This is on the TR Weekly website, or TTR Weekly website. What on earth is this? The Ryanair takes options on the Boeing 737. So Dublin. 26th of April, this story was dated, so this was yesterday. Irish budget airline Ryanair has agreed to buy 25 fuel-efficient Boeing 737 passenger planes, exercising part of an option agreed more than 3 years ago. The pair has announced on Tuesday. So the 737 MAX 200 aircraft, worth in excess of $3 billion US, 2.5 billion euros at list prices, will help Ryanair to meet its target of carrying 200 million passengers a year by 2024. The Dublin-based carrier said in a joint statement. In September 2014, Ryanair bought 100 of the 197-seater planes from Boeing for a list price of $11 billion US, ahead of usual discounting, and with an option to purchase another 100 of the planes that reduce also noise emissions compared to the earlier models. We are delighted that Ryanair has decided to order an additional 25 higher capacity 737 MAX 8s as it continues to significantly grow its fleet and increase capacity across its network, said a name I'm not even going to try and pronounce, but they are nevertheless the Vice President of Commercial Sales and Marketing at Boeing. No, okay, yeah, and here ends the story. Sorry,
I thought you were going to try and pronounce his name then.
No, I'm not. All right, I'll have a go. Here we go. Ich sein Monur.
Yeah, you've done well actually. You've done really well there. Yeah, Ryanair are going to be getting these aircraft. Obviously, I think they start towards the end of this year.
Right.
And it's going to be nice to see these in the Ryanair fleet. Obviously, they're going to phase out some of the older 737-800, some of the lot older ones, because some of these are actually quite old now. Some of the first ones that they brought online. So it'd be good to see these, and with their hello. With
ice cream. Ice cream. Oh, excellent.
Yes, can I have a 99?
Yes, that would be marvellous. How do I get one of those?
Yeah. I tell our friend's little girl that when she hears that sound, it's because they've run out of ice cream.
Right, you're a horrible
I know.
uncle. That is what you are.
Anyway, moving on. Nev, the next story is for you.
This is from the Aviation Herald, and it features a British Airways A380-800, just like the one over my shoulder. But this one is registration Golf X-Ray Lima Echo Golf, performing flight BA 269 from Heathrow to Los Angeles. And it was en route at flight level 360, about 510 nautical miles northwest of Shannon, when the crew decided to turn around. That's a bit dangerous, isn't it? Oh, sorry, and return to London Heathrow due to the failure of all lavatories.
What?
The aircraft maintained flight level 360 on the way back until reaching Ireland, and then descended to flight level 280 to burn off more fuel, and landed safely in London about 5 hours after departure. Passengers reported that the aircraft had been delayed for about 2 hours whilst maintenance was working on the lavatory systems. In flight, all lavatories failed due to the lack of water prompting the return to London. They were taken to hotels overnight. A replacement Airbus A380 registration Golf X-Ray Lima Echo Bravo departed with a delay of about 23.5 hours as flight BA 9608 and is currently en route to Los Angeles. The occurrence aircraft remained on the ground for about 25 hours, then returned to service. According to the information the Aviation Herald received, the water supply system lost pressure.
A very small part of me is delighted that there was no photographs available accompanying that story.
Let's face it, it's a long way, isn't it, to Los Angeles? That's a good 10.5 hours on the plane, and I mean, they could have been knee deep in it by the end of it. Just as well they sold than they did. But I don't know if you've seen that there's a documentary about the Airbus A380 on one of the Discovery channels or one of the aviation channels. And it shows you in immense detail the pressure systems and the vacuum systems that are used to pump effluent backwards and forwards along the aircraft. And it's extraordinary. It is massively complicated and wouldn't be the first time they've had a failure, I don't think, either. So, this is the thing about these high-capacity aircraft. There's a lot more people on there that require... the functions.
Well, yes, and as you say, a long flight like that, you can't make it all the way to Vegas or anywhere like that, can you? If you need to.
I mean, if you're going to have the toilets pack up on an aircraft, the A380 is not the best aircraft. You know, all the people on there. You know, it's
right.
It's not like
you don't want to be down to one toilet.
No.
Let alone none. Yes.
No. Have you had the chance to sample the A380, Neil?
No. I've been around one or two at Farnborough, places like that, but we get it into our local at Birmingham. But no, I've never been on one. Would love to give it a try.
Yeah.
But as only if the toilets work.
Well, yes, indeed, yes. I think that's a valid point. Yes, make sure the toilets are working before you go.
The next story then, Neil, if you'd like to take this one, it's another Airbus story.
Okay, this is from NDTV, who are passing on a report from CNN.
Oh dear.
They start off with, this airline just launched the world's longest non-stop flight today, and this airline is Singapore Airlines. So, the Singapore Airlines is set to launch the world's first non-stop flight with almost 20 hours in the air by the end of this year, the media reported on Thursday. Singapore Airlines' newest plane, the Airbus A350-900 ULR for ultra-long range, will travel on a record-breaking globe-spanning flight that will connect Singapore to New York, reports CNN. Earlier, the airline used to fly the gas-guzzling four-engine A340-500 on the 9,500-mile route with just 100 business-class seats on board. The service proved to be inefficient, and Singapore Airlines cancelled the flights in 2013. Singapore Airlines has now taken delivery of Airbus's newest wide-body, the A350-900. It has 21 planes in its fleet of an order for 67 aircraft, and it has ordered 7 of the ultra-long-range planes. On April the 23rd, the plane had its first test flight, an almost 5-hour round trip that launched from the airframer's assembly plant in Toulouse, France, a place well worth visiting, by the way. The ultra-long range will be able to fly a remarkable 11,160 miles, an increase of more than 1,800 miles over the standard A350. It means that Singapore Airlines will reclaim the crown of running the world's longest non-stop air route. Keeping passengers' comfort in mind, the A350s share Airbus' design philosophy that makes the aircraft cabin feel more like a room rather than a long tube. The plane has, I know, maybe smile as well.
Great.
The plane has high ceilings, sophisticated LED lighting, almost vertical sidewalls, and a low noise level. The A350 is a clean sheet design that has been designed for those long-range flights. Florent Pettini, Airbus Aircraft Interiors Marketing Director for the A350, told CNN. And finally, the air circulation system on the A350 has also been designed to be quiet and draft-free. Now, I thought this one was right up Ned Street, actually, because in an article all about the A350, the picture at the top is of an A380.
Yes. Oh, no. Is it
material for my media that goes wrong segment, which I'm working on. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another one for you, Nev.
Hang on.
I haven't got to look very far, have you?
No, you haven't. This is true. Here we go. Look, ladies and gentlemen, you can have a look at this yourself now. Here we go. So that's what they're talking about. The
A350.
The A350. And what we're looking at here is
a 380.
Oh, what, an A380?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, it's a bit of an A380.
Now, please forgive the stupidity and the naivety of the weird world that is Matt Smith. But what on earth is the difference between an A380 and an A350?
Matt,
well, I don't know.
Have you not learnt anything, young man?
I'm all right with me A320s and A321s. I can tell the difference between those.
Well, the 380 is obviously the largest commercial passenger aircraft in the world. Twin deck, 2 decks.
Okay.
One on top of the other. And
right. But that's got 2. Oh, I see. That's the A3. Yeah. Okay.
And the 350 is just
only single deck.
It's single. Yeah, it's
dear.
Twin aisle.
Right. Okay. Well, when you put it like that, yes, it looks glaringly obvious. Yes.
Nev will point all this out in his special
segment
media segment he does. Yeah.
That he's going to be starting soon. Yes.
What do you reckon, then, Neil? Your views on 20 hours on here? A good
a few years ago, we flew back from Atlanta to Heathrow with Delta on a 767, and it was a night flight, and I couldn't sleep, and it was the longest experience of my life.
Really?
And that was an 8-9 hour flight. So I think 20 business or first class, maybe I could cope with.
Right.
I think that's the common thing in the chat room. I think most people are saying that in a business or first class.
I'm really lucky because I can literally sleep anywhere. So I mean, even if that means being sat, I don't want to know. Even if that means I'm sort of sat bolt upright, I need to be able. I can pretty much sleep anywhere. So
Tony S has given you D- for your aircraft recognition.
Has he?
Sorry.
Wow, that's actually more generous than I was expecting. I've got to be honest. I expected a lot more.
Nev,
sorry, Tony. I apologise desperately.
Is this a thing for you, Nev? 20 hours. Good, bad, not really bothered.
But the longest flight I've done so far is 13.5 hours back from Singapore to London, having already done 7.5 hours from Sydney to Singapore with about an hour and a half break. All of which was in economy, and most of which with a screaming child right behind me.
Dearie me, no.
So that was 13.5 hours, and I think it's the last, when you think, it's not far to go now, and you look up the moving map, and there's another 5.5
hours to go. Yes, absolutely. Thinking I'm nowhere near. Yeah.
No, I will not be doing that in the back. I will have to find a way of bit of premium economy or business, so I can do that.
I must say, actually, Liz Piper is surprised.
Auntie Liz.
I'd have thought Auntie Liz would have been one of the few people who would have actually been up for a long flight. But she says 20 hours, 3 question marks. Nope. Absolutely not.
But Paul Trick has stepped in, and he's
I'm being defended.
He's defending Matt.
Yes,
he's defending him. So there we go.
I don't know.
It's one of our local listeners. That's why
I've got a small sneaking suspicion he's just being a little bit. I think he's being slightly sarcastic if I'm brutally honest, but there we are, never mind. Oh, hang on, Tony said, poor child having to sit next to Neville for 20 hours. Oh, Mr. Bounce.
A bit harsh, wasn't it?
Oh, no.
It's a bit harsh, but some might say fair.
Anyway, moving swiftly on. Moving swiftly on to the next story, and this is quite an interesting story, I thought, because I'm guilty of this a few times.
Yes.
This one is on the skift.com website,
right?
And the headline is: Airlines would prefer passengers to stop stealing their bedding. So, on the one hand, airlines are improving the flying experience, at least for business class. So much passengers want to take a piece home with them.
Right.
On the other, blanket death is bad for the bottom line. We're pretty sure carriers don't have this problem in coach or economy. The Skift Airline Innovation Report, which is the company this has had the report is on, says that next time you try to stuff that business class blanket or pillow in your carry-on, just know someone's probably watching. Dear bugger. This is what I learned while reporting the story.
Please, Carlos, family show.
And yes, it is classed as theft. Bedding from airplanes, it's a problem that they've discovered. It's increased as more airlines have upgraded their pillows, blankets and duvets, often in partnership with big-name brands such as Saks Fifth Avenue, The White Company, those are White Company, Gemma loves those, and Casper. people go, oh my God, this is the white company bedding, it's lovely, and then they take it off the aircraft with them. Yeah, I don't blame them, which is not what they're supposed to do, one insider told this reporter. It's enough of a problem some airlines need to order extra pieces to replace stolen items. Now for the good news. If you want to call it, airlines will send their corporate security teams to investigate passengers who repeatedly flout fair rules, but they almost look the other way if you take their bedding, preferring not to create drama over a $12 duvet. You right there, Matt?
Mm-hmm.
And
sorry, this talk of duvets is making me feel sleepy.
And they've been surprised at how many people think the blanket is theirs to take. At the end of a flight.
Now look here. Now I'm going to interrupt you here because actually, I'm with everyone else, frankly, on this one. If you are paying what I can only describe as exorbitant fees to be able to travel in business class, all right, maybe not so much if you used all your Avios points to do it, but nevertheless, I think you should be allowed to take home a blanket if you want to. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just a point of order here, Matt. I mean, if someone took you to a nice, expensive restaurant in Norwich, for example...
No such thing, I'm sorry.
Well, I know, it's probably a slight misnomer there, isn't there? But if they did, and if there was one, and you said, oh, that's very nice, thanks very much, Nina, and you decided to take the tablecloth and the cutlery home with you, that would be considered bad form, probably, wouldn't it?
Yes, all right, yes.
But it's aviation related.
I see what you did there, Nev. Very good, yes.
I mean, I have to say, I put my hands up. I have a Delta blanket, a Virgin Atlantic blanket. I'm not going to... And I possibly might have a Thomson, an old Thomson Airways one as well.
It's verging on a problem.
I know, but you know, this is.
I've only ever flown coach, so I've left the itchy, scratchy blanket.
This is aviation memorabilia. You know, I'm thinking of the future here. You know, my Thomson blanket is worth a fortune now. Because it's no longer Thomson, it's TUI.
And the salt and pepper pox that you very kindly brought here.
Oh no, they were donated by a certain aviation podcaster from the US.
Borrowed.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
But no, I pillows. No, I can't think I've ever wanted to take an airline pillow home. But blankets, yes.
I'm not sure that helps, Carlos, but thanks anyway.
Well, I mean, what does the chat room think about this?
Oh dear, no, don't ask them. Blimey.
Tony S. said, the blankets aren't new or clean. Well, I wash them when I get them home. And Richard Adams has said that free blanket with every £6,000 spent. Reasonable.
Well, I agree. It's like. Yeah.
And Andy Wilson saying that you mean the 4 crystal glasses, 3 plates and cutlery weren't meant to be left on the aircraft?
Quite right. Whoops. Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate that.
I'm guessing, Nev, in your obviously prestigious status that you have, you wouldn't dream of removing said items from aircraft.
Do you know what this sounds like? I'm some sort of goody, but I wouldn't. I just wouldn't do that.
Wow. Okay. I officially have issues.
Well, not even a BA blanket.
No, actually, sometimes they're not very good. They're all a bit scratchy for my sensitive skin anyway. I find them very, very nice. But no, it's just not in my DNA, really.
Yeah, Richard Adams has pointed out that you wouldn't be stealing stuff anyway, Nev, because you have staff to do that.
They are.
And Lane Street, honestly, Lane, he said he tried to take a flight attendant home once, but it didn't go down too well.
That's outrageous.
Yeah, I can see that.
Always rely on our wonderful listeners to lower the tone.
I know. Thank you for that. So we're going to move on to the next story. Matt, he's
sorry,
it's me.
I've been chatting again.
The next story is all.
See, this is why I don't normally put the chat room up. It's very distracting.
I know, it's distracting.
Anyway, so the headline on moneycontrol.com website is airline to put contest winners' photos on Boeing 737 planes. So apart from these 5 random people will also receive a set of return tickets each. The winners for these will be chosen through a lucky draw. So how cool would it be to have your own face Oh no. On a Boeing 737 flying in the sky. And what better than you fly in that same plane? So a South African airline is organising a contest to choose 6 winners whose face will be plastered to 6 aeroplanes, 1 on each plane, obviously, the company operates. Each winner will also receive 2 round trips to see their face in the sky. The competition is being organised by, is it Kalula? Kalula Airways, and is open to any adult who subscribes to kalula.com newsletter. A participant has to submit one's portrait to, that's a bit posh. Did you write this, Nev? Sorry. A participant has to submit one's portrait to enter into the competition. The last date to send in the entries is April the 30th. Once the picture is submitted, Kulala produces a simulation video of how a participant's face would look on the plane. Winners will be chosen during 3 separate selection processes at the discretion of the promoter based on the funniest, silliest and wackiest faces submitted, the company said in the statement. Apart from these 6, 5 random people will also receive a set of return tickets each. The winners for these will also be chosen through a lucky draw. The airline is active in South Africa and flies to destinations in Zimbabwe, Zambia, Namibia, Mauritius and Kenya. There we are. So what did it say? Is this like the competition is being organised? Once the picture is submitted, Kulala produces a simulation video of how a participant's face would look on the aeroplane. So where do we go to do this? I'm going to do this while you're reading the next stories.
We were talking about this before this show, me and Matt. If you remember, quite a few, I think it was last year, we covered a story about Kalula. And Kalula are an airline that had these kind of wacky images on the sides of their aircraft with things like saying this is the door and this is where the captain sits and this is, and they had all these wacky things on the side. And to have something like this, I mean, I'm sort of visioning Nev Force One with Nev's face on the side of it. What do you think, Nev?
I quite like the idea, actually. I might see if I can send him a photo in, see what they think.
Neil, is this one for you or not?
Yeah, I like it. I think more and more airlines you see now white or mostly white or monochrome. Nice, very interesting.
I don't know what you lot are up to. I'm doing it right now.
Photoshop.
No. I'm busy doing it now.
Oh, Matt's face will be on a Kalula aircraft somewhere in the world.
No. I was going to use the brand. I was going to.
PT UK.
I'm putting the PT UK logo on there.
That would be.
What you're doing.
Oh yes, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Good idea.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Right. So moving on to the next story, and Nev, this one is a bit of a interesting, worrying story, but there we go.
Yes, it is, and it's on the CNN.com website, and more stealing from aircraft.
I blame Carlos for all of it.
Quite. An Apple and an honest mistake have saddled one Delta passenger with a $500 fine and a big bureaucratic headache.
Ooh.
Crystal Tadlock got off a plane last week in Minneapolis after an 8.5-hour flight from Paris. She was supposed to catch a connecting flight home to Denver, so she decided to save an apple she had been given as part of the in-flight service. I put it in my bag, not thinking anything of it, she told CNN. But before her next flight, she had to go through customs, where she was stopped by a Customs and Border Protection agent. Anyone who's ever travelled internationally may know what came next. Apples and most form of fresh produce are typically a customs violation and need to be declared on a passenger customs form. Well, what do we have here? Tadlock said, the agent told her. Well, we have an apple. This is a civil violation.
Oh.
Only in America. Tadlock tried to explain that the apple was clearly from Delta because it was in a Delta branded clear bag along with some silverware from the flight. She said the agent wasn't convinced and told her that there was no way to know whether the apple had come from somewhere else in France instead. Then he asks me if my flight to France was expensive, she said, and proceeds to say it's about to get a whole lot more expensive. They know how to do customer service there, don't they? She offered to throw the apple away, but she says she was taken to a back room at the airport and served penalty papers that stated she had 20 days to pay the fine. When she contacted Delta about the incident, they responded by tweeting the agricultural rules and regulations, which state that many food products are prohibitive prohibits entry into the US because many carry plant pests and foreign animal diseases. The rules are fairly clear, but there was a few circumstances that she said complicated her situation. First of all, she said that she had global entry, and this was her first time flying with it. And I've actually done that last week at the US Embassy in London, and this enables you to go, allows US citizens as well to go through an expedited process upon returning from an international trip. And according to information from the Customs and Border Protection Program, people with global entry are required to answer the customs declaration questions presented out on the entry kiosk, but will not need to complete the paper customs declaration form before arrival. Also, she said she didn't think anything of the apple because it was supplied on the flight. Why give fruit, she asks? Just hand out granola bars or something that won't cause an issue.
Good point.
And Delta said that the rules and regulations regarding customs items are made very clear at airport entry points and forms. Delta recommends all passengers comply with US Customs and Border Protection rules and regulations when entering the country, the airline told CNN in a statement. The Delta representative also said that the apple was intended to be consumed on the plane. She had filed a complaint with the CBP against the Border Patrol agent because she said he was unnecessarily rude and deemed to take pleasure in her unfortunate situation. However, she's still on the hook for $500 and had her global entry status revoked. It took me 6 to 7 months to get, and it cost me £160, she said. And the funny thing is, the fine was £500 because I had global entry. If I didn't have it, the fine would have been less. While she's trying to get it all sorted out, she says she hopes that at least some good will have come of her situation. If all else fails and I have to pay, maybe it will help someone in the future, she says, even if it's Delta putting a note in the bag about the apple. That is a very good point, actually, and I think that's a very easy mistake to make. And just looking at it as a sort of from an outsider's point of view, I think they were a little bit ham-fisted with the way they handled that. That could have been dealt with very easily, but they decided to blow it up in something quite big. But when you go through the global entry program, as I did last week, there's lots and lots of questions they ask you, and they probably know more about you than you do. So you've got to play by the rules, but it's genuinely an easy mistake to make, I would say.
Okay, going back to our earlier story, I have 12 seconds of pure joy to share with those of you watching on YouTube right now. Yeah, absolutely. Here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching on YouTube, here it comes. Love it.
Oh, good.
I might have just put Carlos on an aeroplane. Sorry about that. Couldn't resist.
I'm not even going to ask how you've done that, Matt.
I don't ask. That's the best thing. Yeah. Good news is you might be about to win a ticket. You've just been entered into a prize draw.
Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah. I can't wait for that.
My absolute pleasure.
Oh dear. So anyway, moving on from apples and planes.
Apples and planes.
Apples and planes. We'll go on to the next story, Neil, and this one's for you.
Okay. This is from the Times of Oman. Muscat Airport wins the Middle East Tourism Development Award. The new passenger terminal building at Muscat International Airport has won the 2018 World Travel Awards Middle East's leading new tourism development project for this year. Take a breath. Recognising the great efforts of Oman airports along with our stakeholders, Muscat Airport wins the 2018 World Travel Awards as the Middle East's leading new tourism development project 2018, Oman Airports announced in a statement on Thursday. The 25th World Travel Awards, held in Ras Al Khaimah, is one of the most prestigious international awards which recognises travel and tourism projects. Thank you to everyone who voted for Muscat Airport and helped us to win the World Travel Awards 2018 as Middle East's leading new tourism development project 2018, Oman Airport said. Oman's new international airport has already welcomed over 1 million passengers as it celebrated its first month of operations. The new passenger terminal covers a total of 580,000 square metres and is equipped with the latest technology and state-of-the-art facilities, which will help put it among the top 20 airports in the world by 2020. The new terminal has also been designed with security and safety at its core, using state-of-the-art biometric smart technology to track any unauthorised access or inconsistencies. Even the traffic flow is much easier as the airport's authorities have segregated arrivals and departures. Another striking feature is that Muscat International Airport is a silent airport, ensuring passengers rely more on digital display boards for information about their flights. Airline officials said very few passenger boarding calls are being made in the departure check-in areas and boarding gates area at the new terminal of Muscat International Airport.
I have to say I've travelled through the Muscat, the original terminal building, quite a few times now. Both me and Gemma have. And we've been watching over the years, we've been travelling out there watching them build this new terminal building and stuff in Oman. And for anyone who's been out there or might have been out to had the chance to go out to Oman, the site that this has been built on is huge.
Really?
It's just massive, like everything else is in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Watch this being built, and it's safe to say that I think if I don't know if they've rearranged how the taxiways and stuff are here, but where this has been built in respect to the main sort of the older part of the airport, it's quite a journey from there taxiway wise. So I think they've got dedicated gates here at this new terminal and stuff for flights that are international flights and stuff. But it is an amazing country, I will say that, Oman. But it'd be nice to fly into here.
You go there quite regularly.
Yeah, we have friends there. We're lucky we've got friends there, so we stay with them. But that is one of the things, like Neil was saying there, the big things, which even in the older airport, was that the security levels and stuff are fairly high.
Really?
Even for an old airport, yeah, they're fairly on their game when it comes to security.
Good, that's what we like to hear. Yeah.
Next story then, on Flight Global, this one. We've got a bit of an Airbus kind of theme we're going to be rolling for the next three stories. But this is on Flight Global, and the headline, this is especially for Captain Nick, this one. Airbus encouraged by laminar winged A340 trial. Now, we had this story a few months back about the laminar wing tests for reducing drag. So Airbus has said that the drag reducing effects of the experimental wings on its laminar flow demonstrator aircraft are proving better than previously thought, making application of the technology on next generation aircraft more feasible. In September 2017, the airframer began flight test campaign with an Airbus A340 that had been modified with the reshaped outer wing sections to assess natural laminar flow on the aerofoil's upper surface. Some 66 flight hours have been completed under the partly EU-funded project dubbed Breakthrough Laminar Aircraft Demonstrator in Europe, or BLADE, said Airbus Senior Vice President Research and Technology Axel Flagg, speaking to the ILA Airshow in Berlin on the 25th of April. He says laminar flow could be observed from the aircraft's first flight and that the flow is more stable than expected. While the theory and potential benefits of having an orderly laminar rather than a turbulent airflow in the boundary layer around the wings have been known since the 1980s, the challenge has been to manufacture wings on an industrial scale that are smooth and aerodynamically stable enough to sustain the benefits in regular airline operations. A key area of the BLADE project has been how to assess the robust the laminar flow is when the wing flexes and twists in the air, and which design methods can be employed to build such aerofoils. Airbus and its industrial partners constructed the left wing laminar flow section with an integrated upper wing surface and leading edge, which was made of carbon fibre and required an extremely high degree of accuracy. The right wing section followed a more conventional design with a carbon fibre upper wing surface and separate metallic leading edge. Flagg acknowledges small differences in aerodynamic effects between the two structures, but both, he says, both wings sustainably generate the desired effect. The manufacturer is very confident that the project will achieve more than we targeted, he said, and Airbus estimates that laminar flow wings could reduce drag by around 10%, cutting fuel burn by 5% on an 800 nautical mile or 1,480 kilometre sector. Furthermore, the aerodynamic benefits could be sustained during flight tests at Mach 0.78, a typical cruise speed for the A320 family jets, while Airbus previously predicted that the aircraft would need to fly at Mach 0.75 to deliver the fuel savings. Flagg says the tests have shown the door is wide open to employ the technology on a potential next-generation single-aisle aircraft from the late 2020s. Tests are scheduled to continue until 2019 with a plan to assess the effects of wing contamination on the laminar flow and to install a fixed Kruger flap. Such a device is being considered as potential protection against insect contamination on the leading edge, which could disturb the laminar flow, and as a high lift device for taking off and landing. So laminar flow, we like I said, we covered this story. I think it was last year we covered this story, and I think it's going to benefit definitely the airlines. It's going to hopefully saving fuel, less fuel burn is always a good thing. And it'd be nice to think actually that this technology could reduce the costs of running an airline, and obviously put that reduction down to a ticket cost.
Yeah, right. Good luck
flying.
with that. Yeah,
possibly.
I mean, the only thing I would say is maybe it'll prevent it from going up.
What, the price?
Yeah.
Hopefully not the aircraft.
Yeah, no, not the aircraft. But it might mean that the price is held at its current sort of 2018 rate for say 2019 or something, or whenever they come into production. And so on to the next story.
Another Airbus
where we do appear to be being sponsored by Airbus today. I don't know quite what's going on here, Carlos. But anyway, this is on the Reuters. The Reuters website, and the headline is Airbus confirms plans to raise the A320 output to 63 a month. So Airbus plans to increase the production of single-aisle A320 family aircraft to 63 a month, a company spokesman has said. The production increase, first reported by France's La Tribune, will take effect in 2019, accelerating previous plans to lift output to 60 aircraft a month by the same deadline. The plans were unveiled to suppliers in a letter earlier this month, the spokesman said. Airbus currently produces 55 A320 family aircraft a month, according to an industry source. However, one of Airbus's leading engine suppliers declined to endorse the new production plan publicly, saying it was too early to make such a commitment amid a switch over between engine models taking place as assembly lines run at record speeds. As of today, we are not in a position to commit ourselves to higher volumes. Safran CEO Philippe Petitcolin said, we understand the needs of our clients, and if we were able to respond favourably, we will do so. But we don't want to start discussions on a commitment beyond what was agreed 18 months ago in early 2019. It is not immediately clear whether a higher Airbus target of 63 jets a month, which has been circulating for some time, had already been anticipated in those previous discussions. Through their CFM joint venture, Safran and GE are changing models to the LEAP engine, which has faced some delivery delays. The engine powers the latest version of the Boeing 737 and about half of the A320neo line sold by Airbus. Petitcolin and said Safran was predicting a 1,100 LEAP engine deliveries in 2018, a number slightly shy of GE's forecast as a matter of caution, but did not exclude output touching 1,200. Safran had previously adopted a conservative view on production increases as engine makers adapt to the new models and put increased demands on already stressed supply chains. Looking beyond 2019, Airbus is studying a long-term plan to raise output of its best-selling jet to as high as 75 a month, said the industry source who is familiar with the company's planning. Airbus chief executive Tom Enders has spoken of proposals to raise production to 70 a month over an undefined period, reflecting rising air travel and strong commercial jet demand. In the United States, his counterpart at Boeing said on Wednesday it continues to see upward pressure on production rates of the 737, but held short of announcing a production hike. Boeing is successfully coping with recent supply problems with the 737 engines and fuselages and will make disciplined output decisions. The CEO Dennis Muhlenberg also told analysts Boeing aims to reach production of 57 of the narrow-body jets per month in 2019. Now, I think it's safe to say that the A320 has been an insanely popular aircraft for Airbus, and I mentioned EasyJet as merely one very regular customer of said aircraft, but they're used all over the world, aren't they?
63 aircraft a month. That is a phenomenal
it's a big number,
amount.
Isn't it?
Such just when you look at what makes an A320. You know, we're not talking about just the fuselage and stuff. We're talking about all the electrics and all the various hydraulics components and stuff which make up the aircraft. 63 a month, you know, that is a phenomenal amount of aircraft to push through on a production line. What do you think, Nev?
These guys are smashing it, aren't they? They really are. And bearing in mind how many different plants around the UK and the rest of Europe actually are involved in producing these series of aircraft, it's absolutely incredible that they can do it. But it's been a very popular series from the A319, 20 and 21, and it's offered good reliability and clearly very good fuel burn figures, and it's very popular with passengers as well. And the crews alike, so they can do no wrong at the moment, and it's quite interesting because that aircraft I think first flew in 1988, something like that, isn't it? And at the time, obviously, it was a brand new, high technology 150-seater aircraft. A lot of problems at the beginning. I hear lots of things about software and all sorts of other bits and pieces, but as things settle down, it's proved to be a really popular piece of commercial transport.
True. So Neil, I have to ask Neil: Are you an Airbus or a Boeing man?
Oh, I do really like the 737 actually, but we've been on a tour of the Airbus factory in Finkenwerder in Hamburg, and it is an amazingly incredible place.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, myself and Owen had a tour of the one in Toulouse. And again, that's the only reason that's officially become my favourite aircraft. I may change my mind once I've had a tour of the Boeing factory, obviously, because I'm basically that fickle when it comes to aviation. But it is. It's an amazing factory. It is literally, and I presume it's the same in Hamburg, where it is literally a city, isn't it, that is purely dedicated to the creation of Airbus and its aircraft. So the people that make the engines are there, and the people that make the seats are based there, and all that kind of thing.
You have a look around there, and I mean, as you say, it is absolutely enormous. There's a lovely place to sit right next to the runway, and you can watch all sorts of things coming and going all day. So 63 sounds like a huge number, but having been there and seen that, I can well believe that they could do it.
Yeah, I quite believe it. Yeah, I quite believe it.
So, Nev, Matt's put on again. Nev, the next story is yours.
This is another favourite aircraft of mine, actually. I'm itching to go on one of these, so I've got to find somebody somewhere that's flying and that I can go on one, probably Swiss, I think, or something like that. But Airbus is reportedly going to rename its newly acquired Bombardier C series jet.
Are you sure that's said correctly, Nev?
No, I'm not sure.
Are you sure it's not Bombardier? Sorry,
several different pronunciations as we go through the article.
Okay, good, excellent. I'm pleased to hear it.
But of course, they announced the acquisition of this jet in October. And they're thinking of renaming it. So the Bombardier C series may soon be renamed the A200 family. Sources told Bloomberg's Benjamin D. Katz and Frederick Tomesco. More specifically, the CS100 and CS300 would be redesignated the A210 and A230. That could be confusing. It sounds like a Mercedes-Benz. However, the source also told Bloomberg that no formal decision had been made yet, but an Airbus spokesman could not confirm the rumours. However, the company did tell Business Insider that it believes that its deal with Bombardier will bring tremendous value to the C-Series program, and they are confident that Airbus can help make that program even more successful. The A200 moniker would allow Airbus to market the C-Series with a name that's in line with the rest of its lineup. The renaming of an airliner is far from a common occurrence, but it's something that has happened before. Following Boeing's 1997 Donald Douglas's that became the Boeing 717-200. Airbus acquired 50.1% of the C-Series program in October. However, mechanisms within the deal will see the Europe airplane maker take 100% ownership of the C-Series program within 5 years. Airbus made no upfront financial commitment in the C-Series, but will provide its procurement, marketing, sales, and customer support expertise. In addition, Airbus also indicated that the C-Series production would also take place at its plant in Mobile, Alabama. At the time of the deal, Bombardier was mired in the middle of a trade dispute with Boeing and under threat from a proposed 299.45% tariff levied upon it by the US Commerce Department. This dispute came about when Boeing alleged that its business was hurt by the low prices Delta received in its 2016 order for 75 C-Series jets. According to Boeing, these prices were only possible with the assistance of Canadian government subsidies. In January, the US International Trade Commission struck down the proposed tariffs, ending the dispute. And I know we shouldn't get too political on this show, but jolly good too. I think this is a really good aircraft. I think it suits Airbus very well, actually. So it's going to be a great addition to their lineup.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, we've had Graham Haley in the chat room has said that he saw a couple of the Swiss C-Series jets departing London Heathrow at the weekend. He said they perform very well and were off the ground well before any of the other aircraft.
Really?
Yeah.
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 Didn't hang about.
So there we go.
And that's the Bombardier, is it?
Yes. Yeah. So there we go, Nev. Get yourself.
Look, I'm happy now. It's
get yourself
fine,
some tickets on Swiss.
Yeah.
And what are you a Bombardier fan at all, Neil?
They're very nice. Again, like the chat room mentioned, we've seen them Swiss fly out of Birmingham, and they get up very, very quickly. Look nice. I think it'd be a very, very big success for the feeder markets in the US, I think.
I bet, yeah.
So moving on to the last story then, and Neil, that one's for you.
Okay. ANA is to equip its A380s with 520 seats. So ANA, All Nippon Airways, ANA, will equip its 3 on-order Airbus A380s with 520 seats, the second highest seat density deployed on the type. The 4-class configuration includes 383 economy class seats on the main deck, says ANA. The upper deck will have 137 seats with 8 in first class, 56 in business, and 73 in premium economy. Flight Fleet Analyzer shows that this will be the world's second densest A380 configuration. Emirates has 13 A380s equipped with 615 seats. The average seat count across the world's 221 in-service A380s is 496. ANA says that Jamco produced the first-class seats, Zodiac Aerospace the business-class seats, and Zim both economy and premium economy. So ANA will come into service with the type in spring 2019 and will operate on the Tokyo to Honolulu route. ANA's A380s will be powered by Rolls-Royce Trent 900 engines. Its first A380 entered final assembly in Toulouse this month. This marks the first time ANA has offered first class on this resort route, and its aim is to provide passengers with a luxurious onboard experience. Each seat features its own door and provides passengers with the privacy they need to enjoy their personal space. Acknowledging that the Honolulu route is popular with couples, including newlyweds, business class offers several rows of seats directly next to each other, dispensing with the fishbone configuration found in many business classes. In addition, economy class includes 60 couch seats. This makes ANA the first in Japan to introduce a couch seat concept, it says. Each couch is comprised of 3 or 4 seats, and passengers are able to lie on the seats by folding up the leg rests. In addition, passengers will receive a dedicated mattress that will provide them with further comfort, and which presumably they have to leave on the aircraft when they leave. The carrier expects the couches to be particularly popular among families travelling with small children. In addition, the 3 aircraft will have unique Hawaii-themed liveries. These are designed to symbolise the sky, ocean, and sunset, and they look really, really nice.
They do actually. We're looking at that on YouTube feed now, and looking really good.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Actually, while you were sat reading that story now, we're just looking at those couch seats. Hadn't actually seen those before, and it's quite an interesting seat option.
It's interesting.
I don't know about families. I'd like that on my own.
Well, yeah, I know, but I think you'd need like 4 seats. That's the trouble.
You've got to
buy 4 seats.
Yeah. Have you seen these couch seats before, Nev?
No, I haven't. And for me, there's always an excuse to do sort of, high density configuration and that kind of stuff. And these are words I don't like the sound of.
No, good point. Yes, yeah, absolutely. High density is not something that is that a man of a fuller figure, shall we say, is particularly keen on, I think.
It struck me as a little bit odd, this, because they're putting these seats in, so come on our aircraft and take up 4 seats, but presumably they want to fill it.
Well, yeah, I suppose if it's families, then at least you can all cuddle up together, I suppose. So it's sort of slightly, so if it's 2 adults and two kids, then you can sort of, you don't mind sort of wrapping your legs around each other. But I suppose if I'm sat there next to a total stranger, I may feel less keen to do so. What did you say, Nev? I'm slightly worried.
I just said you speak for yourself.
No, right, okay, fair enough. Some of us, that's all. We're grateful for whatever we can get. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I don't think that there isn't an airline in the world that operates the A380 that has yet to use it to its maximum capacity, because the 380s are built to hold quite a few more people than what ANA are using. So in a full economy kind of thing. So
Tony was saying that Air New Zealand apparently use them.
Yeah, do Air New Zealand?
Yeah, apparently.
800, isn't it? You can get in all economy.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. 800. Wow.
Yeah, they call it the Sky Couch apparently on
the Sky Couch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that is where we bring the commercial news segment to a close this week. We have got some military news coming up a little bit later in the show, but we have got coming up now. We're going to hand things over to Nev. So Nev, what's coming up next?
Do you remember the 200th show? And I can't believe that was 14 weeks ago, I suppose, wasn't it?
Oh, really?
Absolutely incredible how the time has gone. Well, we had a great time down there, and thanks to everybody that came down. And during straight after the show, actually, I did a load of interviews with as many people as I could that were there, and we thought we'd start to play a few of these out now, because I haven't actually listened to any for a while. I was just listening to this one the other day. I thought, this would be a really nice one to play out. So this one features myself talking to Andy from the A320 podcast, and also Captain Al. So off we go, let's play it. Well, here I am. We've just finished the show, and Al's been talking to Andy from the A320 podcast, who's very kindly come down to see what all this fuss is about. And all he's seen so far is a bunch of aviation weirdos and some chicken nugget action going on. But
I did enjoy the chicken nugget action. That was very good.
I was going to ask you, is this what you expected?
From Al, yes. Disappointed to the lack of training from Al. We've discussed this. He really should have worked on it. A couple of weeks minimum, but he's done nothing. So, we're not surprised now. If you told us this before we opened the book, we might have had lower odds on him. But no, it's been brilliant so far. It's been a great day.
Yeah, a great bunch of people, and from all walks of life, those who just enjoy aviation, professional pilots, amateur pilots, all sorts of... Yeah, I was going to say that was Al's gone off there, clearly. But so what brings you down here? You just wanted to just see what's going on, see the guys down here?
Yeah, well, it's the first time I've ever met any of you guys, especially from Plain Talking and the APG guys as well. And I thought I'd come down and meet people and see people. It's nice to put names to faces. I've seen all the faces before, the joys of Skype these days. But yeah, it's been really good. So
the only thing you don't know is how tall or short people are, but you know their faces, don't you? So.
Yeah, well, that's it. Everybody sat down normally when I see you on the old YouTube. Yeah, so yeah, it's been really good. I've enjoyed it so far.
And obviously, you're an Airbus man, but you've had some 737 experience too, haven't you?
Yes, yeah, I still do some instructing on the 737, so I'm looking forward to having a bit of a go and embarrassing myself. Normally I sit in the back, not the front, so yeah.
I have to say the standard of landings has been particularly high today, so the bar has been set pretty high, so you've got a lot to live up to.
I'll bring that mean down quite quickly. Yeah, I can guarantee that. Always set the bar low for yourself. That's the best way.
Yeah, quite. Then you're not disappointed, are you? What about the differences between the two aircraft, the manufacturers? Do you prefer the Airbus style or the Boeing style of working?
I prefer nowadays the Airbus style, especially from an operational point of view. It makes flying a long 4-sector day a lot easier because there's less set-up work to do and less things to change. A lot of it's automated. But to handle, I prefer the 737, especially in heavy winds, really strong crosswinds. because you've got the direct input, especially on the Sharklet-fitted A320s. Beautiful design, exceptional design actually, because it makes the wing extremely efficient, just makes it really twitchy and roll. But you can always get a good landing out of a Sharklet because the ground effect on it is beautiful. It just sinks into the runway, lovely.
Brilliant. Now let me ask you about the podcast that you're doing, because the stuff that you and Matt do is absolutely superb. How did that come about?
It was all Matt's idea to begin with, really. He came to me and said, I've got this idea for a podcast. I said, okay. And he said, you like all your technical side of stuff. Do you fancy getting involved? I said, yeah, okay, I'll give it a shot, see how it goes. And we just started out with the first few basic episodes, and people started to really like it, and we got a lot of feedback. We've just built it up from there, and it's getting good now. We've got the recent episode we did, wasn't A320 stuff, it was about aviation fitness and looking after yourself, and people have really got on board with that. We've had a lot of feedback from other people involved in other sides of things, especially fatigue, and they want to come on and do some interviews and put their points of view across. So we're sort of expanding it quite a bit now.
Interesting. Now, I am only an amateur enthusiast, shall we say, and even though your podcast is very technical at times, I get past sort of ECAM warnings and I go, I don't know what that next bit means. But you seem to have made it so accessible for all sorts of people, and I'm really impressed with that.
Yeah, well, I always thought, what would I like to know? I'm just a northern lad from a little mining village. I'm not the brightest out there. And I've always looked at these manuals and thought at times, what does this actually even mean? So when you sit and break it down and you take the Flight Crew Techniques manual as well and the QRH and just take the chunks that you need and explain it in plain English, everything makes a lot more sense. And I mean, the manuals as well, at times, the French to English is pretty appalling, as Al knows. So it was just really the idea of how can we make this simple to understand for everybody who flies an aeroplane, because we're not all test pilots, we're not all geniuses, so that was the whole reason behind it. It seems to have worked.
Yeah. So you brought some sort of technical interpretation of the written word into an audio format.
Yeah, exactly that, yeah. And we always suggest that people sort of listen to it, then look at the manuals, or listen to it while they're looking at the manuals as well, so they can follow through what we've looked at and understand it all. But yeah, that was the whole point, and it seems to really have worked.
Oh, brilliant, Andy. Well, I know everybody appreciates your work so much, and it's not, as we all know, this stuff takes a lot of time, but it's really worthwhile.
Yeah, no, and we do it as a sideline to our sim training business as well, which we've got access to all A320 sims, 737 sims and stuff like that, and we offer instruction on stuff like that as well. So it's a bit of a sideline to help everybody develop their knowledge, and we've really enjoyed doing it, and we're glad that we get a good feeling from the feedback that we get as well. It's all really nice.
Makes it all worthwhile. Just whilst I've been talking to Andy, I've got Al sitting next to me as well. And Al, have you listened to the A320 podcast?
I am indeed a subscriber, and it's an extremely useful and educational podcast on a multitude of levels. My dad, who isn't an A320 pilot, he listens. Obviously, I'm a 320 pilot, I listen, and we both get a huge amount of satisfaction out of it. And at my new airline, I can think of at least 5 people who've come up to me and said, do you know the A320 podcast people by any chance, because I'm British? So I'm pleased to say now that for the first time, I've actually managed to put at least one of the duo in the flesh, as it were. So I'll be able to go back and say, I do know the guys. So it's great. And I think that the more and more people who get to listen to it, more and more people are going to subscribe. And I know that's going to pose you some challenges to just keep growing and growing it, but there's a huge spectrum of subjects that you can cover. So I've got every confidence in both of you and Matt's capabilities in letting that run and run.
Absolutely superb. Now, how do you think Matt has managed to make, the QRH and the flight manual a bit more digestible for the average A320 first officer or captain?
Well, clearly they're both very intelligent and knowledgeable, so that's a good starting point. And I'm going to speculate here, and I might be proven wrong, but sometimes if you've got access to a simulator, you can actually do a bit of experimenting and see, right, this is what the manual says, but what does it actually mean? Let's press these buttons and see what actually happens. Now, you can't do that on the real aeroplane. Experimentation on the real aeroplane is not really to be encouraged. Well, that's where the simulator comes in, and you can kind of fill in some of the gaps that Airbus have a philosophy with their manuals that they don't go into a lot of detail, and they just give you the bare facts. Now, some people want to know some more, and, in an ideal world, the more you know, the better equipped you are to deal with issues. So that's, I don't know if I've kind of speculated right or not there. Yeah, seemingly I've made a lucky guess there. So that's one aspect. But clearly you've got to have the technical aptitude to be able to look at these things, and they do a great job.
Well, that's from one of your customers, as it were, Andy. What's the next stage for the podcast? Have you got any plans to take it further now?
Yeah, well, the next step is we're just looking into actually recording some actual videos of certain procedures, because, of course, it's great to listen to it, but a picture tells 1,000 words, and we're in the process of sort of pre-production on that. We've got a few storyboards. Again, neither me or Matt are artists, and there have been some interesting interpretations of things on paper that neither of us have understood when we've looked at it, but we're getting there slowly but surely. And we're also building an LPC, OPC sort of training package as well in 8 modules that people will be able to look at and sort of give them the top tips to help them out really ace their license skills. So we're just trying to move it on a bit further each time and develop it and push ourselves as well to see how far we can really go with it.
Fantastic. Do you think you'll ever get to a stage where the guys in Toulouse are going to phone you up and say, Matt and Andy, can we just have a look at what you're doing? Because we think we could be doing our job slightly better.
For the sake of my job and for Airbus, I'll say probably not. But yeah, no, that'd be very nice, but I very much doubt it. Those guys are significantly more knowledgeable than us, and I quite often have to go to them to find some bits out that they don't put in the manuals. As Al said, they like to keep it pretty basic in the books. They don't want us to know too much, so it sometimes takes a bit of digging.
Brilliant. Well, that's fantastic, Andy. And I must say, what's the website address of your podcast?
It's a320podcast.com, and you can find us on Facebook as well at A320podcast, and we're also on Twitter at A320podcast. So give us a follow, and there's lots of stuff going on our Facebook pages. And we recently did a competition for a print, and we do have some special podcasts coming up from Airbus. Me and Matt had a visit to Airbus up at Broughton, and we have some great Airbus prize to give away, so that's coming up soon as well.
Wonderful. Well, can I just encourage everyone to tune into the podcast, because it's a great listen. Thanks ever so much, Andy.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nev. That's great.
Find this and other great shows at the Aviation Media Network.
thevoicesinyourhead.com. The Plain Talking UK podcast is a voluntary project that aims to keep you informed with the latest aviation-related stories from newswires across the globe.
Producing our content does cost money though. If you enjoy our show, why not help us keep on the air by making a donation towards the server and website hosting fees through PayPal. Any contributions would be greatly appreciated.
Are you an Amazon user? If so, why not do your shopping through the link on our website? There's no cost to yourself, and Amazon pay us a small referral fee on qualifying purchases.
To find out more about the show and to meet the team, take yourself to our website www.plaintalkinguk.com,
or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/plaintalkinguk, on Twitter via @plaintalkinguk, or get in touch via email on podcast@plaintalkinguk.com. Thanks for listening.
Flybe 5823, Trent Dane for 23R Manchester, Wizz Air 6X, climb flight level 210, direct to Bretlands Park. United 123, maintain 280 knots. London 2DME, turn right onto Bravo, link 21 join Alpha, hold at Mora, Speedbird 472, LOC/DME, approach runway 27 left. Follow the green stand 544.
That's enough air traffic control for today, Nat. Bedtime.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to fly a commercial passenger jet? Looked up at the sky and thought, I wish that was me? Well, now anyone has the chance to have a go at flying in a real aircraft simulator. NP Simulations and Flight Experience London, the only official Boeing licensed product of its kind in the UK, offer you the chance to fly anywhere in the world in their fixed-base Boeing 737-800 flight simulator. And that's not all. Ground School London offers many different courses for the up-and-coming pilot looking for a start in aviation. With prices starting at just £109, the sky's the limit. So for the ultimate flight simulator experience, or engaging preparatory courses, including those for schools and colleges, check out the websites at www.london.flightexperience.co.uk and www.groundsschoollondon.com, or call on 020 300 40 616. NP Simulations. Fly your dreams.
Well, it's safe to say another sterling piece of work there from Mr. Bounds.
I know, even at our 200th, when we really did have our hands full.
I was a bit tired by the end of the day, but it was great talking to Andy. I saw Andy last week for a bit of lunch, and also Matt came over to my house as well this week to have a chat about some bits and pieces. And the nice thing about the guys is that they're so engaging, and there's no such thing as a stupid question, so you can ask them all sorts of things, and they're very happy to answer it. And I'm really pleased for them how well the A320 podcast is going.
It really is.
Such a digestible thing, because most of them only last sort of 10 to 15 minutes maximum. So it's really, really interesting to listen to. It is, even from the keen amateur's point of view.
Somebody was asking me actually what's the best way to describe the A320 podcast, and I always just sort of describe it, and I hope I'm not offending Andy and Matt when I say this, but I always refer to it to like the Haynes manual of the A320. Do you know what I mean? Because it's that. I think that's a fair description, is it not, Nev?
Yeah, and I think Airbus have been, although there's quite a lot in the manuals clearly, but they don't go into massive amounts of details about all the procedures, and so it's very much up to individual airlines and people's interpretation. So Matt and Andy break that down into bite-sized chunks for people. So for people that are studying for their command, or that are studying to be a first officer on the aircraft, then it's a brilliant resource, really, really good.
And as they alluded to, actually, as Andy alluded to in that piece there is some very interesting work in the pipeline to sort of bring it another step forward. It's really good.
Yeah, I must say I've been listening to their show since they started, and
we've had them on the show, haven't we?
And I do love my Boeing. And when you're listening to a podcast such as theirs, there's so much information and stuff, and they go into the real technical side of the A320. But even for someone who hasn't got a clue,
me, essentially, that's what you're getting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But even for someone like me, even for someone like Matt, it is such an entertaining show, and you can. Yeah. And I find when I'm listening to it at work, I find myself sitting there, and I'm just in another. I'm there. You know,
you were going to say in another world, but Carlos, you're in another world 29 days out of 30.
I didn't want to say while I'm driving around on a forklift listening to the show, because I obviously don't do that.
That sounds very dangerous. Yes, no,
but it's a fantastic show. Get yourselves over there if you've not listened to one of their shows yet. Get yourselves over and listen to their show.
And it is www.a320podcast.co.uk or .com.
.com.
So it's a320podcast.com. Make sure that you do give it a listen. To say we strongly recommend it as a must listen.
So have we got more of those coming up in the future shows, Nev?
Yes, if I start to edit a few together, which I shall be during the week. Yes, we've got quite a few to play out. Actually, I've probably got another 10 or so to do. But they're really interesting actually, and. It was. I still can't get over how good that weekend was. A few people in the chat room saying what an awesome weekend
it was.
It's a very, very memorable. I thought really good.
Yeah, excellent. Good fun. Yeah.
So we've got some military.
Should we
news.
do it all again?
Yeah, can we do it again? Yeah. We've got some military news to go through, and then we're going to have a chat with Neil about what he does over at Bruntingthorpe. So if everyone's ready, we're going to do some military news. Nev, Matt, Neil.
Yeah, here we go. Before you start, Carlos, I just have to say, actually, Richard Adams pointed out a very marvellous thing, which I can't believe you, of all people, forgot about, is like not forgetting the very special and amazing beer. At the 200th, that was an amazing. I do trust that some of that will be available for our summer meetup. I hope.
I have one bottle left, Matt.
No, but
the beer.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
we need to commission.
I'm pretty sure if we all speak to Matt Caton very nicely,
he is in the chat room
he will supply some beer for the summer meetup, possibly. But also on the note of Matt, actually, they're hopefully when Nev manages to get hold of Mr. Caton, I think he's going to be lined up for an NPE. me, so that'll be quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, should we do some military?
Yes, so moving on to the military news for this week. On the first news story then, on the ShropshireStar.com. And good news for
where
anyone...
I get all of my aviation news from, obviously.
You do. Good news for anyone in the UK who's going to the Cosford Air Show. So the Cosford Air Show this year, 2018, the Royal Air Force Falcons, RAF Falcons, are going to be opening the Cosford Air Show this year.
Cool.
So the Falcons, famous for their colourful aerial display, will be part of this year's 6-hour show on Sunday, June the 10th. Their performance includes a variety of movements across the sky in free fall, using coloured smoke to illustrate a pattern in the sky. They're also well known for their close proximity flying. The team will also be carrying the Royal Air Force's RAF 100 baton to the show as part of a commemorative relay. Other recently announced participants are the Royal Air Force Tutor Display Team with their GROB tutor, which is also used to train Air Squadron students and air experience flights to members of the Air Cadet organisation. This year at Cosford Air Show is going to be bigger than ever to celebrate the 100th years of the Royal Air Force. For the first time, the air show will also feature 4 themed villages, each of them exploring different eras of the last century. Thousands of guests will be able to explore zones based on policing the Empire, the war years, and age and uncertainty, and the new millennium. Each zone will include reenactments of activities as well as aircraft from each era. From the very first planes used by the service through to the high-tech jets of today, 100 static aircraft will be on show across the museum, one for each of the Air Force years the Air Force has existed. So if you want to find out more information, if you are in the UK or if you live in the UK, you can take yourselves over to Cosford Show or CosfordAirShow.co.uk and find your tickets and stuff there. So I've actually seen these guys at an air show quite a few times now, the Falcons, and you know, everyone's used to seeing aircraft at air shows and stuff, but the parachute display team, these guys are really, really good.
Gotta love her.
I'm quite surprised Dr. Steph's not joined them actually yet, because obviously Steph's used to doing this. So.
She's used to throwing herself out of perfectly functioning aircraft.
Have you seen these guys, Neil?
Yeah. I have. They're amazing. I've got some fantastic photos from Riyadh, I think, years ago, and I'll keep going back to them every so often.
Yeah,
really interesting.
Yeah.
Such a skillful display.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
So the next story, this one's for you, Matt. And well, it seems to me the tanker situation could be coming to an end.
Flight Global, which is a highly reputable source, especially for military news, and that's flightglobal.com, and the headline is Boeing completes final FAA test on the KC46 tanker program. So Boeing's KC46 tanker program completed all required supplemental type certificate flight tests for the US Federal Aviation Administration following a successful refueling and communications flight with a C-17. So Boeing said on the 26th of April that it plans to now submit the resulting data and reports to the FAA for review. As part of the testing, a combined team from Boeing and the US Air Force was required to validate the boom and drogue systems for aerial refueling with multiple receiver aircraft such as the F-16, the FA-18, the C-17 and the A-10. The team also had to demonstrate the KC-46 taking on fuel from the KC-135, KC-10 and the other KC-46 tankers. The aircraft also conducted night and day lighting tests and tested its defensive systems and avionics. The KC-46, derived from Boeing's 767-2C design, is built in the company's Everett, Washington facility. Boeing is currently on contract for the first 34 of an expected 179 tankers for the United States Air Force. That's a huge number. The FAA still must approve an exemption requested by Boeing before granting the STC. A software flaw discovered earlier this year could, in an extreme condition, cause an overpressure when the KC-46 is unloading fuel in flight to the centre fuel tank. The FAA is now seeking comments on Boeing's petition for exemption, but is expected to grant the waiver. Meanwhile, the USAF is still refusing to accept delivery of Boeing's first 18 KC-45 aircraft until several other deficiencies have been resolved. Despite the pending issues, Boeing says that the program remains on track to complete delivery of the first operational squadron later this year.
It's safe to say that hopefully this the issues, problems and stuff have all been ironed out and finished, and we'll finally have a KC-46.
I was going to say what we're going to do when they do resolve them all, because we won't have a military section.
Have no stories to read. I mean, honestly, yeah.
It has been drawn out for quite some time now. I'm surprised they didn't just. I'm surprised they didn't just say, "Oh, do you know what? Just can it and try something else.
Do something else.
Just do something else.
Give up. Start again. Yeah, absolutely.
Air-to-air food or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like it.
So, Nev, the next story.
It's on the Australian aviation website, and it says that the Pentagon has stopped taking delivery of F-35 Lightning II fighters from Lockheed Martin, including at least one aircraft for Australia due to unresolved corrosion issues. The corrosion reportedly resulted from a known production error in fasteners that hold composite exterior panels to the aircraft's airframe. The issue was discovered in 2017 during depot maintenance on aircraft delivered to date. As a result, the JSF project office has suspended F-35 deliveries until an agreement can be reached with Lockheed Martin on how the cost of repairing the corrosion will be covered. Since the suspension in early April, a US Senate Armed Services Committee hearing heard on April the 18th that 5 F-35 deliveries have been put on hold, including 3 for the US, 1 for Norway and 1 for Australia. We're still progressing along with the Joint Programme Office on that. Lockheed Martin Chairman, President and CEO Marilyn Hewson said during an April the 24th earnings call. It's just a temporary suspension that they have on accepting some aircraft until we reach an agreement on a contractual issue. So we're working through that contractual issue with them. It's not affecting production at all, but we continue to produce the F-35. She continues, and we are confident we're going to meet our deliveries this year of over 90 aircraft for 2018. Of course, these delays are all very well and that things get resolved, but there's always a massive cost penalty somewhere, and somebody's got to pay for it, haven't they?
But what about these fasteners that they were supposed to use? Obviously, anything sort of steel, rusts kind of thing. You'd think even in the industry that I work, or the company I work for, everything that we use has to be stainless steel or non-magnetic for the particular types of products we produce. But you'd think that in this massive world of tech, that when you're putting together an aircraft of this caliber, that you'd use fasteners that wouldn't corrode.
Yes, absolutely. And surely the overall cost, because one assumes that the decision was based a purely financial one, but presumably, or is it one of those
a bad batch, possibly, of screws?
But it's interesting. Yes. Something as minor as that, in some respects, has this massive implication for costs and overrunning of the program later on. So, it's this sort of error is always very expensive, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, they should have gone down to Maplin before they shut. Yeah. Right. Anyway, moving on.
Wow.
The last.
Okay.
So, moving slightly closer to home, then for the next story, then Neil.
Okay, this again is from Flight Global, and Eurofighter are to upgrade the Typhoon engine to lift sails. Eurofighter will upgrade the engines and systems on its Typhoon combat aircraft as part of a bid to replace Germany's fleet of Panavia Tornadoes and support efforts to sell additional aircraft to other European countries. On the 24th of April, Airbus and Eurofighter submitted to Germany's Defence Ministry an offer to replace the nation's 90 Tornadoes, which are to be phased out from 2025. Eurofighter Chief Executive Volker Palzo, speaking at the ILA Air Show in Berlin on the 25th of April, said that the consortium intends to increase the thrust of the Typhoon's Eurojet EJ200 engine by about 15% in order to boost payload and range. Each Typhoon is powered by a pair of the 13,500 pound thrust 60 kilonewton engines. Paltso says the upgrade will also include additional capabilities for the Euroradar Captor E active electronically scanned array radar that has been in development since 2014. Describing the Captor E as a real game changer capable of simultaneously tracking multiple targets in the air and on the ground, he says the ongoing development effort includes a growth plan to further increase capabilities in the future. The Eurofighter represents a perfect and logical choice for Germany because the country already operates 130 Typhoons, and economies of scale would deliver savings in terms of both fleet introduction and costs per flight hour, says Paltso. Acquisition of the type would also be the least risk solution, as Germany knows, uses and understands our aircraft TAs. Saying that Eurofighter expects to replace Germany's full Tornado fleet, Paltso asserts the Typhoon will deliver every capability and perform every mission that the Tornadoes currently undertake. Berlin uses the aging Panavia aircraft for roles including ground attack and electronic warfare. In addition to benefits for Germany, Paltso says a selection of the twin-engine type would also be the right choice for Europe, because the production would sustain the region's defence aerospace industry as a natural bridge until the projected European fighter programme is established. France and Germany tentatively agreed in late 2017 to develop a future combat air system that is currently expected to enter service around 2040. The technologies we are developing for Eurofighter today will go hand in hand with those technologies we expect to see on a future European fighter programme, manned or unmanned, says Paltso. He says that he expects the Eurofighter to stay in production into the 2030s, remaining in service until around 2060. The consortium sees potential to sell a total of 300 additional aircraft and has ongoing sales campaigns with the governments of Belgium, Bulgaria, Finland, Poland and Switzerland as they look to upgrade legacy fleets. Of existing orders for about 620 aircraft, 536 units have been delivered. Belgium is expected to make a decision by July about the acquisition of 35 aircraft. Eurofighter has recently submitted a final offer to Brussels, Paltso says. Finland is considering the purchase of 64 aircraft, while Switzerland is to decide by 2019 about an order for 30 to 40 units, he adds. Bulgaria's government is evaluating an order for at least 8 units, while Poland is still shaping its requirements.
Now, I was thinking, reading the story earlier today, and I looked at this, and even for me, in my limited knowledge of military aviation stuff, but to me, the Eurofighter Typhoon still seems like quite a really new aircraft. Like it's only been about a little while,
10 years,
yeah, like that. But looking into more depth, in August this year, 2018, it will be 15 years since the Eurofighter Typhoon was introduced into service with the various air forces in Europe, and so 15 years. So it is obviously it's probably due an engine upgrade, I think, after at this time. I think airliners through the years will have engine upgrades and stuff like that, but for something like this Eurofighter Typhoon, there is actually one of these on display as a static display at Duxford here in the UK.
Good old Duxford.
The Royal Air Force, German Air Force, Italian Air Force and the Spanish Air Force all use the Eurofighter Typhoon.
Tony's actually saying it's old, but it is constantly being upgraded. So it's been about a while.
Been about a while. Yeah. And just for everyone, this is an incredibly noisy aircraft because I've been stood literally right next door to one of these when it was taxiing in at Riyadh a few years back.
Okay,
so, yeah. And I can definitely vouch for it being noisy.
Quite noisy. Yeah. Not as noisy as the Vulcan, though, I'm quite sure.
No,
nothing is as noisy as that was. That thing was a machine.
So that's where we bring the military segment to a close this week. And, we have, obviously, as we said, we've got Neil on as a guest on the show this week. So, Neil, you work on quite an interesting aircraft, it's safe to say, that many people may not have seen or heard of before. But what's that aircraft?
We work on the Super Guppy, and you have a handy visual aid here for anybody who's never seen one before.
Oh, there we go.
The very first time that I went to Bruntingthorpe, the guy on the gate told me to park next to the Guppy, and I said, "What's that?" I'd never heard of one either. He said, "You can't miss it, and this is what you end up next to."
It's just like, what on earth is that? Yeah.
always reminds me of the aliens from Mars Attacks.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's one of my favourite films. That is.
for those of people who've never seen one of these before, which is probably quite a lot of you, physically it's similar size to a C-17. It's a lot taller. These stripes here are probably 20 feet or more off the ground.
Wow!
So it's pretty big. I really love strange-looking aircraft. I'm drawn to anything that it looks odd. So this was a perfect fit for me. I've been to a few of the open days at Buntingthorpe, which are great things to go to if you get the chance. We've got another one coming up on the 27th of May.
Hopefully we'll come.
Hopefully, yes. So I've been to a few of these and eventually got looking around on the internet and found Gaz, who's our crew chief, along with Emma, Ollie, Greg and myself. We look after the Guppy day to day, and got talking to him and made my way along eventually, and just got handed a paintbrush and said, go for it. So what we're doing at the moment with the Guppy is basically a cosmetic restoration. So it will never fly again. Everybody always asks us that, and it's a big shame that it won't, but if you think getting the Vulcan to fly again is expensive, then this would be
far worse,
order of magnitude, to be honest. If we could ever get engines for it, we'd love to do static runs. That'd be absolutely fantastic. But at the moment, we are just, as with any restoration group that keeps an aircraft outside, we're fighting corrosion all the time. It came to Buntingthorpe in about 1996. There we go. That's us. That is us underneath a Titan II ballistic missile in Arizona.
Oh, as you do.
Yeah, if you ever get the chance to go there, it's an absolutely fantastic place. It's a wonderful group of people that run that. And the top to bottom tour is really well worth it. The real purpose of that visit there was to actually go and see NASA, who still have a Guppy that they fly.
Oh, wow.
It's number 4 of the original 5 that were built, and they use it to move parts of the Orion spacecraft program around. Because the thing about the Guppy is it's very good for cargo that's really big, but not very heavy.
Right.
NASA took it on originally to move parts of Saturn V around. As you can see there, you've got a huge fuselage section, which is very bulbous, so you can get a large round object in there, fuselage sections, wings, all of that sort of thing. Because originally when you were moving those sections around, you're sending them through Panama Canal, it would take a couple of weeks. The Guppy was put forward by Jack Conroy as a solution to that, and originally they started off with a Boeing Stratocruiser and put this huge fuselage section around it, chopped and changed a few things, and you had the original Super Guppy. They then took the centre section out, built the fuselage from scratch, but kept the wings, the nose and the tail, and you ended up with what you've got there. Uprated engines, a few new tricks. The nose gear actually is an interesting one that we always like to tell people about, because that comes from 707.
Oh, really?
And they took it and reversed it, so it drops the cargo floor a little bit and makes it easier to load.
Right.
So we always like to tell people that although it's got Airbus written all down the side, it's really a Boeing underneath.
Oh no!
So it solves that debate.
Yeah.
Right. Airbus used it for the A300 program, to move wing sections to the final assembly plants. So they slapped their name on the side of it. Or Concorde parts as well.
Really?
Also moved Concorde parts.
So
yeah.
Yeah, there was. I mean, one of the questions that with the picture that because you very kindly sent us some pictures as well, and this one that I've just popped up here. I mean, it's just the whole thing is I suppose, it's similar with the Beluga, isn't it? Which is presumably the replacement, isn't it? And the one thing that always amazes me here, obviously, I mean, the Beluga is jet engines, isn't it, rather than props. But I mean, it's the whole aerodynamics. I mean, part of me is absolutely astounded that this thing was ever actually in the air at all. I mean, it's just. I suppose the front is shaped as such to sort of cut as much through the air as efficiently as possible. But you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. It is the size that it is, but you also get a lot of lift from that fuselage shape.
Right. Okay.
It's several times over the last few years it's been spun around in the wind when we get really, really strong winds.
Really?
It will spin. It's got a few battle scars. It's taken out fire engines, cars.
Right.
So it's not a good idea to put anything close
to it.
No. Guppy. And the rudder section is huge. When I showed you the model before, if you stand right next to it, it is amazing how big this part is. Yeah, really? It's a giant sail, basically. And that's it doesn't look like it should fly, but it does.
But it does. By some miracle, it actually does. So, I mean, how long was this particular aircraft in service for then, Neil?
From the early 70s until ours came to us in the mid 90s, say 96. So the best part of 30 years. And to say NASA has still got theirs going. It's usually found in El Paso, but it does get around a bit. So if you're ever over there, it's well worth trying to find it. It's quite an amazing thing. The first time we'd actually seen one fly in the flesh, it's quite an amazing thing to see, definitely. But yeah, it's still used and still good for its job.
Andy Wilson's asking the chat room, Neil, what engines were fitted to the Guppy?
This one had Allison's, Allison 501s. Is what it's in my notes. They're the same engines from Wright that the Hercules uses.
Oh wow!
Which is why it's difficult for us to get them, because it's the second-hand market. They obviously go with Hercules is still going strong. So
yeah, it's a shame they didn't leave the engines when you got the aircraft there.
They were apparently. I've been on it for about 5 years. Gaz has been looking after it for about 9 years. It's sat outside for quite a while, but we're told that those were basically the first things to come out.
Right.
Because the second-hand value is huge.
Yeah, I bet.
It still is.
Yeah. So, any questions, Nev, from you?
It must be. I mean, as you were saying, it's a very high lift machine, isn't it, Neil? And presumably the takeoff and landing speeds were relatively low, I would imagine, because obviously with prop aircraft you tend to get a lot of lift anyway from them.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't tell you the numbers off the top of my head, but it is unusual. I think it's probably difficult to put down. I don't know whether I sent you the picture or not, but there's lots and lots of pictures and videos. They actually lands very nose down. You almost have to fly it into the ground. So this is what we tell people. It's surprising. It does fly. Yes, it's got a lot of lift. So, but no, it's not fast.
Was it a pressurized aircraft as well?
The flight deck is pressurized.
Oh, right.
The back is not. They actually had one of the test flights actually had an accident in a high-speed dive where the front section above the nose, so the forehead area, caved in, and they nearly lost the plane, but they were saved when it blew the back doors off.
Wow!
So they lost. The pressure that was building up was lost. And they managed to get it back down. But no, so you've got a pressurised crew compartment, but the rest of it is not. There we go. Yeah.
Well done, Matt.
Yeah, so this is actually, I should just credit this. This is from NASA actually, directly. So this has got something to do with NASA, and it was released about 5 years ago. But it just looks insane, doesn't it?
It's amazing. I mean, how can you not love something that looks like that?
It is fascinating. It is genuinely fascinating. It does look like an alien is coming to get you. I have to be honest.
It really does. Yeah.
It's not. It's slightly frightening.
So carry on, Nev. Any more?
Yeah, I was just looking at some of the specifications of it, or at least just looking at the flight info I've got here. It says that the service ceiling was 25,000 feet, and it had a range of 1,734 nautical miles. The empty weight of the aircraft was 100,000 pounds. Maximum takeoff weight 170,000 pounds. And maximum landing weight was 160,000 pounds. And the total that were produced was only 5 aircraft. I didn't actually realise
Really?
That.
Yeah. The original one that was basically a big shell suit wrapped around a Stratocruiser was, you'd almost call it a prototype, I suppose, which had different engines. It was then taken on, and a couple more were built, and then a couple more were built. They're still all hanging around. We've got number 1. Number 2 is in Toulouse, at the Airbus factory there. Now, they've got a fantastic new museum, which we do want to go back over and see sometime. Not sure whether the Guppy's been moved over or not. There's one at Finkenwerder, again at the Airbus factory there. It's quite difficult to see. They don't put it really out on display, and they don't let you off the bus on the tour.
No, they
but
don't.
You can see it. And then, of course, number 4 is still with NASA, flying around bits for the space program.
It's still very much in service then, yeah.
There is also one at Pima Air and Space Museum in Arizona.
Wow.
Which, again, is a brilliant place. Really, really well worth going to.
So Neil, you obviously look after this with a group of other sort of aviation enthusiasts. What does it take to kind of keep the Guppy looking as it does? Obviously, you've got it's one hell of an aircraft to clean, let alone paint.
Cleaning is unbelievable. Very long brushes. We beg, steal, or borrow cherry pickers whenever we can. You can't get up that high, really. But our major outlay, the major things that we use, paint brushes. Underneath what we're doing at the moment, underneath the stripes, and again underneath the wings, is obviously where you get the worst corrosion. So we're sanding down the whole fuselage. We put on acid etching primer, so that stops any corrosion, hopefully, that's already there, that you didn't manage to see. And then the plan is to paint on top of that. Over the last couple of years, we've done the stripes, so that was a huge amount of masking, painting. The letters are probably about 7 or 8 feet high, so that's a cherry picker job. Again, huge amount of masking. So masking tape, paint, rollers, we go through so much of that every year. But we really have to thank all of the people that come and see us on the open days. It's absolutely fantastic, the donations that people give us. We couldn't do it without that. And it's amazing to see the people that come back again and again. See the people twice every year. Come back, I came a few years ago, nice to see you again. We just love it when people come up and say, it's fantastic what you've done. I can really see the difference that you've made since the last 2 years that I came, or whenever it was. That's brilliant. We do it. We would still do it for ourselves, but it's wonderful when people come along and notice what we've done and enjoy it as much as we do.
Actually, they were saying here one of the most amazing things is I presume again when it begins to land, obviously you do, because of its sheer shape. I guess you lose because it basically lands flat, doesn't it? I mean, it really does. It's almost a nose wheel first landing. I mean, that may just be the characteristic of that particular pilot, perhaps. But
no, it is. That is really. It's almost nose wheel first.
Mm.
So it's different. Everything about the Guppy is different.
And is that because of its shape and the drag and things? It's sort of basically pulling it closer to the ground, I guess.
I would imagine so. I don't know that much about the aerodynamic side of things. So it does take pushing into the ground, yes.
Yeah, so Lane Street is asking a couple of questions in the chat room here, actually. He was saying that I presume most of the work is taking place on the outside. I mean, what have you done with the inside of the aircraft?
The inside is we've painted as much as we can. It's mostly white inside. You've got various load markings all along the fuselage inside. So that was masking, painting. There's been a lot of work done on the electrics. Gaz has done a lot of that and done a fantastic job. So we can light her up now.
Oh, wow.
We can get the flight deck instruments lit up. It looks really nice. It runs off car batteries,
right.
So it's not something we can do for a long time or very often. But inside is a lot of cleaning, dusting. So we're gonna have to sort of start wrapping up. Unfortunately,
I was going to say, Lane has actually asked quite a good question. Especially for those who hopefully are going to visit the show this year. Is the inside open for visitors to look in?
Absolutely, yes. Oh, yes. We open up there's an access door at the back, roughly around about here. You go in. There's been steps put in a long time ago. So down at the bottom, there's not really anything there, but underneath, above the cargo floor. Yeah, absolutely. You go in there, you can go up to the flight deck. Kids love going and sitting in the seats, and so do the adults. It's amazing, actually. When you stand underneath it, you don't really get an impression of how big it is inside. Everybody comes out to us and says, "Oh, it's like a cathedral in there," and it really is. Yes, definitely. You go in and have as much of a look around as you want. Absolutely. You can also do that. The museum is open on Sundays.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
You can also go along. If we're there, then it'll be open.
Yeah.
It's usually also open by a couple of the guides that are there. So you can go along to the aerodrome on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And you can
find you. The listeners need to find you.
They need to come and find you, absolutely. There's one last question, if I may, Nev, in the chat room. Perhaps you would to read that one out.
Yes, it's from Richard King. Do you have to check it structurally to make sure it doesn't collapse?
Not really. You suffer problems with delamination. So the aluminium is the layers of aluminium do peel off. So you have to be careful underneath the wings, and that's one of the things that we're working on. The big problem we have is with the rudder. The actual rudder itself is fiberglass, so it's not fantastically heavy, but it is. You wouldn't want to drop it on your head. So that's something that we're always careful with. That's it has to be lashed down. It has to be secured. But no, really, it's very solid. Very solid still.
Yeah. So just to round up then, Neil, are there any sort of big future plans then for the Guppy that you guys want to kind of do over the next few years?
Our main thing is to finish the painting that we've done. We're always looking with what comes in donation wise with what we can do. We'd like to keep up with the lighting of it, maybe improve that. If we could get some second-hand engines, then maybe that's a possibility. But to be honest, that's probably quite remote. This is like painting the Forth Bridge, we always say. So our long-term plans are really to keep doing what we're doing and keep looking the best for as long as we can.
So if any of the listeners want to find out more about what you do and about the whole kind of the Guppy and stuff, where can they find out some details about Brunting?
We have the Super Guppy Restoration Project page on Facebook, and that's one of the best places to get in touch with us at the moment. There is a website as well, and if you email that, there's email addresses, you'll get in touch with Gaz, with our crew chief. But yeah, Facebook is the best. But come along to the open days, and we're
Definitely.
quite happy to talk to everybody that comes along.
Yeah, indeed. And Marianne has actually said a great comment here at the death of it. Here is basically it's literally a labour of love, isn't it? You just have to. You wouldn't
Absolutely.
If you didn't love the aircraft, you wouldn't be doing all of this.
No,
work, really.
It's difficult in the winter because you can't paint outside when it's raining or when it's -10.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, we do. It is a labour of love. Is definitely what we say to people.
So Nev, I see you found the web page there. Is that correct?
Yes, I have. Yes,
and it is.
It is Super Guppy, all one word, .co.uk.
Very, very good. Yes. Excellent.
So take yourselves over there and have a good look on the website page there. There's a great aerial shot on the website there of the Super Guppy at Brunty there with various kind of bits and pieces around aircraft and obviously one of the open days, but a great shot of the aircraft there, and hopefully fingers crossed, we are hopefully going to go to the open day there, which is, what date is that on? That's May, isn't it, Neil?
It's 27th of May,
27th of May, yeah. Hopefully we're going to be there, which would be awesome. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Did I not get the memo?
Did you not
for
get
that
the
one?
memo?
No, right.
No. Matt didn't get the memo
Okay.
for that.
All right, I'll clear my diary immediately.
Yeah, so
excellent.
hopefully-
Good news.
hopefully
Yeah, sounds
we'll
like a
be
great. I
there.
didn't know it is, as you say, it's a labour of love, and much respect to you, Neil, for putting so much effort in, because it is a bizarre but somehow weirdly beautiful aircraft, isn't it? It really is a lovely thing. So that is, I'm afraid, where we have to start wrapping things up for today. I just want to say a very quick little personal message in the fact that it's a certain our favourite cabin crew member's birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday to Owen for tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, who's going to be an age that I don't even want to say out loud because he's very young and it makes me feel quite nauseous. So absolutely. But anyway, happy birthday, dear Owen, for tomorrow.
And it's also someone else's birthday today, actually.
Is it?
Who is a listener of the show.
Oh.
And we're going to say a big happy birthday to Jonathan Warner.
Oh, of course it is. The legend that is. He's probably having a barbecue about now, yes.
Yeah, Jonathan is...
In the pouring rain.
He's reached the grand young age of 30. So
don't say that out loud.
I know, but for those of you probably, with Jonathan's been on the show. He's also he's a massive lover of military aviation, and he's also takes some awesome photography. For those of you who are going to RIAT this year, Mr. Warner will be in the grandstand with his FRIAT pass, I think it's called, and he goes and takes some awesome pictures and stuff. He's got rather. It's safe to say, Jonathan's got a rather big lens. But anyway, we'll.
I think that's what she said. Okay, good. Lovely. Nev, anything exciting for you next week?
Nothing too major, but today I was down at Heathrow Terminal 5 on some business, and I grabbed the opportunity to speak with one of our listeners from Berlin, Germany. So I've done a Nev's passenger experience down there, and that's a very interesting listen,
can't wait.
which we'll do in a couple of weeks' time, I would imagine. So,
Brilliant.
Really, really good day out today there. But no, just lots of work for me next week, as always.
Very good, very good. Well, I'm sort of basically we're leaving the studio as it is because I've got to get out here as quickly as I can because I'm off to Heathrow in the morning. I've got to be at Stansted by 7 a.m. to then go on to Heathrow for reasons of which I can't go. It's a long story. I can't go into details right now because it's not my news to share. But
what's your name? National Express.
That's it. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. No, I am driving a car, believe it or not a bus on this occasion. So
Just a quick one though. What's the studio update, lads?
Well, very little to report, unfortunately, because we've both been a bit busy. But I am delighted to say that the desk arrived this afternoon. So yes, and one of my friends is coming to install it. It's basically just a kitchen worktop. It's nothing too exciting, but it'll be ideal for what we need it for. But that's being installed by my friend on Monday. So yeah, we will have a table in there as of Monday, which is exciting. So we just need the fabric paint, and that we're getting really close now to being able to kit it out and get in it.
Exactly.
So we never have to pack all this up ever again.
It'll be glorious. Nice. And I shall be at a wedding tomorrow night.
Oh, lovely.
Doing my
Anyone
DJing. No. It's another private function that I've been booked to do tomorrow night.
I still haven't forgiven Carlos yet, because Carlos has made a little diary faux pas, and now I'm doing a disco, which I'm not looking forward to.
Matt is very graciously stood in for me, because when
I'm coming out of retirement,
the day I fly out back home to sunny Malta at the end of June, unfortunately I have a booking, so Matt has kindly stood in, and he's going to dust off his microphone.
The last time I did a discos, it was all 90s tunes. Is it still that?
Oh yeah. You can play whatever you like.
Okay,
mate. You
good.
can play
Excellent.
whatever you
I'll
like.
hold you for that. So Neil, anything exciting for you next week?
Week off work.
Oh, very good.
Yes. So it entirely depends on how much it rains.
Right.
To get anything done out in the garden or in the guppy. But hopefully, fingers crossed.
Fingers, yes. And I bet if the weather's nice, you're going to spend it at the aircraft the whole time, aren't you?
Oh, of course.
Right. Okay.
Not jealous at all.
Not in a beer garden at all.
No. Well, no. I should hope so. A beer garden is the way forward. Anyway, that is where we need to bring things to a close. Thank you very much to everyone for joining us, as always. If you aren't... I'll try that again, shall I?
So that is where we bring episode number 214 to a close. We're going to say a big thank you to everyone who's joined us in the live chat room tonight, everyone who's joined us on this Friday night, all the usual suspects in there. The family are all in there having some fun tonight. So big thanks to you. And also not forgetting as well, everyone who downloads the show via iTunes and all the other podcast platforms, Spotify and stuff.
Absolutely.
So big thanks to you for downloading as well. Don't forget, if you want to send us some audio audio recordings in or anything like that, as Matthew Buntingframe and Ray Davis will be soon, hopefully.
Very exciting. Yes.
You can send those into podcast@planetalkinguk.com.
That's podcast@planetalkinguk.com.
Yeah, send them in, and Matt will have fun putting them in and playing them out on the show for us to listen to. So send us in your feedback. So that is it for episode 214. Hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy the winter weather that's back
the
here
winter
in the
weather
UK.
that's back with a vengeance. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, good luck with your week off, Neil.
So from me, Carlos, it's a massive thank you and good night.
From me, it is goodbye.
Have a good time, lads and lasses. Have a nice week.
And Neil, we'll leave the last word with you.
Bye-bye.
That's a wrap.
Do you know that's one of the